Last of the bunch, the runt of the litter, Restoration Shaman has been the dark horse healer for long enough. Or has it? Well, considering a lot of specs are being addressed, it's fair to assume Resto will be too, and it is. There are fewer changes for Resto compared to Enhancement and Elemental, so later on in the video we will also take a look at the azerite trait changes for Shaman in general, so stick around. Resto Shaman representation has been lacking in Battle for Azeroth currently. So far in this patch, Restoration Shaman has been the most underperforming healer in raids and almost in Mythic Plus, where Holy Priests are vying for the #1 bottom spot. This is PvE of course. PvP wise, Resto is doing pretty good, and that's because the toolkit for Shaman is just that good. But in PvE, throughput matters as well, and unfortunately it falls short in that regard. But a lot of us are looking forward to patch 8.1 fixing our spec. Some may have had their prayers answered, some may not, but at the very least the general view on Shaman in 8.1 is that it's going to be better. Now, better doesn't mean good or competitive, it just means that our performance should be better than in 8.0. With that in mind, let's check out the changes for Resto coming in almost 1 week from now. There is one point I would like to make. Over the course of the last few months, Resto has been getting steady buffs here and there, rightfully so since there are a lot less healers in the game. And having one of them gimped especially for Shamans would have seriously fucked all Shamans for all content. As such, the changes aren't very many in numbers so far. Currently, data mined for 8.1, there is only one base spell change, and that is Chain Heal. The tooltip has been updated and the healing has been increased from 105% of your spell power to 140%. Aside from this, the jumps remains the same as life. A few talents have been changed as well. Most noticeably is High Tide, which got a nice buff but also reworked a bit. Now it will proc after spending a certain amount of mana, and it will buff the next two chain heals to do 20% more healing and not have a penalty when jumping on other allies. It does look like a nice change as opposed to the live one, which is a talent you pick and forget. With the new iteration, there's at least a modicum of management involved, so you can properly take advantage of it. Unleash Life has also been changed. Its initial heal has been bumped from 110% to 130% of your spell power. And the after effect that buffs your next heals has been nerfed from 45% bonus healing to 35 bonus healing. Resto Shaman has always felt like the oh shit healer, and with the tools present in our arsenal we can actually deal with situations, and Unleash Life seems to complement that playstyle, where the upfront heal has been increased to reward a good reaction. A lot more changes seem to cover the PvP aspect of the spec, and more precisely the talents. Ancestral Gift is a new talent that makes you immune to silence and interrupt for 5 seconds after casting Spiritwalker's Grace. Calming Waters and Rippling Waters have been removed to make room for the second new talent, Cleansing Waters, which gives 20% extra crit chance to Chain Heal and Healing Rain, and when they crit, they will remove all harmful magical effects. Speaking of waters, Purifying Waters has been taken from Resto and is now only available to the other two specs. Spirit Link is being nerfed quite a bit, it seems. The amount of damage distributed will be 25% down from 35%. The mana cost has been increased to 60% of base mana, and the cast time is no longer instant, but it's 1.5 seconds. A few totems have been buffed as well, Capacitator and Earthbind. Now their area of effect has been changed from 35 yards to 40 yards. Overall, the changes for Resto Shaman seem to affect more the PvP side, leaving PvE players a little disappointed. Although mechanically, Restoration is a very fun and, however poor it's performing, still seems to be more fun than Enhancement and Elemental. The numbers, however, might not be there, so we will need a better grasp of its performance once 8.1 hits. But I did mention the azerite traits will be changed, and this applies to all Shaman specs. Similar to Warlock, 3 of our main traits will be taken from the game, traits that seemed a bit meh. Ebb and Flow for Resto will be replaced with Turn of the Tide that buffs our Tidal Wave passive by increasing the bonuses it provides by 5% and giving the affected heals more bang for their buck. Lightning Conduit will be replaced by Thunderon's Fury. This new trait will buff Storm Strike to deal more damage and have a 50% chance to summon a totem that doubles the chance to activate Wind Fury weapon. The buff will last for 12 seconds. And for Elemental, Rumbling Tremors will go away to make room for Tectonic Thunder, buffing Earthquake. Earthquake will now deal initial damage and have a 25% chance to make your next Chain Lightning instant. Besides these three, we have one more trait that affects Reincarnation. When it's on cooldown, our max health will be increased, and if we stay at max health, the cooldown for Reincarnation will be 50% faster. Interesting traits. Hard to imagine we will see this used. Unfortunately, WoW is a game where you have to maximize the numbers going out of your character, and this trait unfortunately just doesn't do that. It's a shame because Reincarnation is a very shaman-specific ability, and you never see this except once in a blue moon when your party fucks up. If the trait is brought into viability levels, it might bring an interesting flavor to the shamans, but we will have to see. For the traits currently present for shamans in BFA, we have a few nerfs and a few buffs. Ancestral Resonance has received what I would call a buff. Now, it will give mastery every second while you are under the effect of Bloodlust. Previously, it used to work at least from the tooltip when you were the one casting Bloodlust, which is silly to be honest, although it might just be a tooltip change since I haven't personally used this trait yet, so I don't really know. Natural Harmony is another trait that was buffed. Whenever you deal fire, frost or nature damage, you would get a 12-second buff for crit, mastery and haste respectively. The trait has been buffed by approximately 50%. Primal Primer has been nerfed alongside Rolling Storm, both enhancement traits. Also Strength of the Earth has been nerfed as well. However, they have been nerfed in base damage for enhancement, but at the same time enhancement is getting its negative damage aura pretty much removed, so the changes are more to keep in tune with the state of the spec, more so than nerfing it. If you want more details about the damage aura situation, check the enhancement video I posted recently where I explained a bit how it works and affects the spec. Lastly, Spouting Spirits makes the Spirit Link totem radius bigger by 15% and reduces the initial heal it gives to allies. These are the overall changes for Resto Shamans, with a few additions for the other specs in terms of azerite traits. All in all, I am still torn about Resto. On one hand, the spec is very fun to play. I personally like it more than Mistweaver, which is one of the dominant healers at the moment. I haven't tackled harder content yet since gearing up all these alts takes a bit of time. But judging by the performance on Warcraft logs, Resto is behind everyone else, but not by so much that you wouldn't take Resto in raids and Mythic Plus. The fact that we actually have logs for Resto in Mythic Uldir proves the spec has been used to clear it. I've made videos for all of the Shaman specs, mostly because it's a class I initially wanted to main in BFA, or considering it anyway. But due to the reception, I decided against it. I can't say I regret it too much, but I do want to do my share of killing this stigma that shamans are trash and you should always pick something else for your class or party. They are not. Shamans are good, and if you can take advantage of their toolkit, totems, dispels, interrupts, then you will see shamans perform better than other classes in certain situations. It's a shame it's gotten to a point where the majority of the community views shamans as unusable. I will definitely play Shaman in 8.1, and as far as Resto is concerned, until I get my hands on Priest, which I haven't tried yet, will remain my go-to spec. If you are doing PvP on the side, or PvP mainly, then I wholeheartedly recommend Resto Shaman in 8.1. If you want to top the meters, maybe look somewhere else, because that's not what Resto Shamans are best at. They are the oh shit healers, meaning they can deal with extreme situations better than most. I hope you enjoyed the video and found something useful in it. It's been a blast making the Shaman once, more so than I expected, and as a result I am considering Shaman once again. There will always be pros and cons which I support, but as long as the pros are good enough to shine in certain situations, I will be personally satisfied. Let me know what you guys think of the spec, if you like it, if not then what are you planning to switch to? I've been Flame and I wish you guys nothing but love. Peace.